Hi, hello. It is the end of September. So, of course, I'm making a video telling you that it's the end of September, and this video is about September. Did you remember it? September? The 21st? No. So, I have 5 plays this month. I got quite a few done. No misses. We got them all 5. Hell yeah, baby. And I'm gonna go through them all pretty quickly with you. Thanks for spending this time. In case you're wondering why I'm wearing an orange shirt, it's because I'm filming this on September 30th, which is the Canadian Day of Truth and Reconciliation. I'm wearing this shirt because I was just working this morning at a theater that is doing a show called Bear Grease. This is a show that has been touring across Canada. If you haven't seen it, you should. It is an Indigenous telling of Grease, the musical. It looks fantastic. I think if it keeps going from where it is right now on the East Coast and it moves anywhere else and it comes to your location, your region, check it out, watch it, you'll love it. I'm getting a little bit of like a cough kind of thing, which is not helpful for talking. So I'm going to pass it off to First Week Me, who has some things to tell you about our first play. So our first play this month is about a family at the deathbed of one of the characters. This play has to do with how people feel in crises and how they act and how they behave when faced with a difficult decision. Some people are indecisive, like me, I'm very indecisive. And does that usually translate to being able to make decisions? I mean, by the name, no, it doesn't. But you know what it also doesn't do? Help you figure out the best course of action in a very stressful situation, which is what this play is about. A family has come to the hospital. One of the characters, the mom in this family, is being kept alive by a machine instead of her own organs. And they have to make the very difficult decision of whether or not to keep going. This is a serious play that engages with a family in crisis and what sort of moves they make and who they actually need to be listening to. Everyone has their own opinions, everyone has their own ideas of what to do, but in the end, they need to come together and make choices with each other. So that's a little bit about it, and I've called it Confirmation. I think that's just a relevant name and a relevant theme for the whole play. It's got 8 pages, 1,417 words. Pretty decent. That's like maybe a quarter of my longest word count for any show. Themes of loss, decision, permission. It took me about 4 hours to write. I did think about it for quite a while. This is one of the ones I planned to do last month as part of the Control series, and I didn't get to it then, so I thought I would start this month by actually getting to it now. So I have been thinking about it for a while. Medium potential, 20% comedy, 70% drama. I didn't even think it was going to be any comedy, but then I had to put in a little bit because check out this friend approval that we got from my buddy Hal, where they said, I found it pretty funny towards the end how much credibility the family gives to squeezes. This is a pretty relevant approver. Hal here has gone through an experience that is quite similar to the play, and because of that, I think it's interesting that Hal finds humor in it, where I didn't think I had put much. So I did put comedy 20%, drama 70%, of course. And do I trust this approval rating? Yeah, I think it makes sense that there is a little bit of comedy in how quickly and implicitly the family gives in to the idea that the mom is communicating with them, even if she isn't. It's a bit of like a dark kind of humor, like a grave humor, but I think it's there. I think there's something there. Costumes, I think you should just go with modern clothing. And my favorite line, just because I love the use of the word the in this line, he is the son of a bitch. As if there's only one ever son of a bitch. And that's said by Elle, but my favorite character is probably Patricia. I think I gave her the most, you know how most characters are playing with a tension between two larger points. You know, there's something on one side that's pulling them this way, and then there's something on the other side that's pulling them this way. I think I gave Patricia or Pat the most of that tension, so she's a very intriguing character to meet and especially to write. I really enjoyed it. And I gave that overall rating a 7. I think it's pretty good, but you're about to see we're only going up from here. So, week 2, we have another play at the beginning of September about email. So, check that one out.
Urgent, please read. Hello, everyone. No, wait, no, that's too fancy. Hello, everyone. No. Hello, everyone. This week's play has to do with email and office work. It's not a very complicated play, so I think you can all figure it out. I don't want that, thank you. Without my help, I trust you can read it despite the different format. Find it in the description below. Thanks, Boss Man. And send. What? Okay. Everyone. Come on. To no one. I don't know, just delete it. The whole thing's stupid.
All right, so that is our second play this month. I've titled it Reply to Urgent Please Read, or Re-Urgent Please Read. It's 6 pages. I don't think it's the formatting of the play sort of makes it take up more space than normal, so 6 pages with an asterisk. 836 words, themes of blame, justice, fairness. It took about 2 hours to write. I really rushed through it, but it's also, I think, the dialogue sort of came naturally. I've written a lot of formal emails in my life, and this sort of exchange is nowhere unfamiliar for me. So I really wanted to show that in this play. I had put it down, there's no prep and planning, I had put it down as low potential, but I have to add it's now up at medium with an asterisk because my friend Lux, who reviewed the show, well, first of all, she says this made me laugh out loud in the Berlin airport, and I don't know why it matters that she was in the Berlin airport, but I think that's a funny specificity. But she also had quite a few questions about where it could go. And eventually she said in her review, I think this piece has a lot of potential. And while I didn't think it had that much potential, I do have to bump it up because Lux, I think, is right most of the time. So I'm giving her a little bit of leeway there. 75% comedy, 25% drama. It's mostly a comedy. Potential costumes, I think you should go with office formal, or I guess you could do office casual, but it's funnier if this sort of exchange is happening with people who are like in suits. Favorite line is the sign off of an email with disappointment, Cindy McKay, which is said by Cindy. And my favorite character is probably Max, or Maxwell, as he's put in the play, just because he says so little. But I feel like it's really obvious what he's doing. He's just trying to get his job done. He doesn't care about all these emails. He's just trying to do his job. And overall rating is also a 7. It's pretty good. We can go better, and we will with the next one. Check out this next play coming from week 3 of September.
In the time right between darkness and dawn, the sky is lit in a vast twilight. That's the name of this week's play. Twilight on the final day. What happens when the twilight will disappear, never to occur again? That was what I wanted to look at. I took an interesting approach. I think you should check it out. I even played around with the coloring of the page, added some extra oomph, I guess. That was this week's play. Twilight, the final day.
So play number 37 in our total is called Twilight, the final day. This one is more existential, more philosophical, and more abstract. And you'll see in the next two, this one and the next one, they are more abstract in general, and they also both employ the use of a narrator who talks as if being a character in the play, and without the clarification of who that narrator is. And I'm not going to tell you now, but I do think that leaves some interesting interpretations for people who read these. So for this play specifically, I wanted to keep it into one page, but I fit 643 words in there. Can you believe that? One page, 643 words. I didn't change my font size or anything like that. So you'll see that this play is very condensed. It's one page, but it's quite lengthy in that way. It's about legacy, duty, joy. It took me about 5 hours to write because after I wrote it, I also played around with the formatting of it, how to get it on one page, what it could look like on that one page. You'll see that in the play itself. No prep or planning. I don't really know how you would prep or plan for this other than destroying the world so that there's a final day of Twilight. Maybe. Could be. Potential medium to high. I think there is something here. Not as much of a something as something else, but there is something. I just said something a lot. Did it make sense? I put both 40% comedy and 40% drama. I don't really know whether it's either. It could go either way. Drama, comedy. It also doesn't really need to go either way at all. It could go its own direction. Something very existential where it just discusses something in like a lecture style. I don't know, you could have some fun with it. My friend approval rating comes from Lux. She did 2 this month. She says it's existential, it's sad, it's inspiring, and then she has some questions. She asks, is this a god who feels wistful? Or is this maybe a mortal who has died and is moving on to the next world? Great questions, Lux. I'm not going to answer them. So yeah, I trust that. I think for costumes, if you're gonna costume anything, I think you should incorporate gradients and that dark and light contrast. Twilight is that midpoint between dark and light, so I think you really should accentuate that in your design. And my favorite line is one of the first lines. I just really like the evocative descriptive language I used here, which is streaking in concentric circles like halos, fading and developing within the layers of pie pastry clouds. That comes from our narrator, who is something. And I put my favorite character as Twilight. I think Twilight plays a big part of the play, and who is it? I don't know. And my overall rating is an 8. I thought that was really good. I'm really proud of that one. And again, we're still only getting better from here. This is a knockout of a month, and I'm about to show you in my next little video about the play. I'm gonna stop talking and just let you watch it because I don't know what I'm saying. watch it. I gotta be honest, I don't know how to describe this one. It's, I don't know. It's like philosophical. It's from the perspective of these endless sort of beings that I don't really explain, so it's kind of sci-fi. It's part of what I like to call the monologue from a perspective series, where I just imagine myself as something that is something else and then write from that perspective until I think I've made something interesting and up to interpretation and vague and kind of on purpose like that. But all that to say, it's cool. I don't know. Maybe read it, find out. Tell me, let me know what you think. Get some help. Welcome back. So, play number 38 in our total list of 53 is, I titled it Lazy. I don't know if that's actually a good title for it, and until I do more with it, I think it'll do. So this is 2 pages, 594 words. I think there's themes of community and time and also status or status, depending on where you are. It took me about 8 hours to write. I know this because I was working a shift and I shouldn't have been writing, but I was. And prep or planning, none really. Potential, medium, it has somewhere to go. We'll figure that out. 30% comedy, 60% drama. Our friend approval comes from Eric. Eric says there's some fascinating perspectives on the word lazy, and the exploration of the empowerment of the word is interesting to explore. Thank you, Eric. That's very nice. So I said, yep, I agree. Costumes, I think, are completely up to interpretation. If you stage this, I don't even know how you would do that. So because it's so up to interpretation, I can't really tell you what I think the costumes would even begin to be. You really have to figure that out. Sorry. And my favorite line comes from the narrator of the piece, who says, talking about dirt, says, "A long time where dirt was the best eating." I like playing with how sentences can be structured. I like playing with grammar and how a character can speak in a way that feels natural and feels right, but maybe when it's written on a page it looks weird or it doesn't quite make sense structurally, and I really like that. So the reason I picked this line is just because I think it's got an interesting cadence to it. A long time where dirt was the best eating. It's interesting to me, and I hope it's interesting to someone else too. That's said by our narrator. My favorite character is the narrator because there's not really any other character. And my overall rating for this one is an 8. I thought it was good, but again, we still have higher to go. I was going to send it off to somebody to tell you about this last play, but because I just finished writing it yesterday, I can't. I didn't film that segment yet. So I'm not going to. I'm just going to tell you now. Let me tell you about Faded Detail, the last play of this month. We're getting set up for October, which everyone knows is spooky month. And I wanted to write a play that was in line with that, especially because there was this application due that wanted plays that were spooky. So I wrote this one for that. This one is about a photographer who is doing an exhibit at an art gallery about memory and comparing a photo originally taken with a recreation of that photo taken sometime later. This character also is dealing with a bit of loss in their life, something that is kind of chronicled through the photo exhibit that they're showing off. And there is a spooky element to it that comes into play. I don't want to spoil anything, but this one's pretty good. You should go down and you should read it. Number 39, go read it. So Faded Detail is about photography. It's meant to be read as a precursor to a staged performance with projections and photos. So keep that in mind when you read it. It doesn't have all of the elements that you'd see when it's on stage. It's kind of like a draft of something to be staged. So please keep that in mind when you read it. It's 8 pages long. I filled that with 3,517 words. That is not a record. If we go up here, we can see that my record is 4,219 in The Animals Affirm Me. But if we keep looking at all of these other plays, you'll notice that none of them, except for this one, none of them get nearly as high as 3517. So it's our second longest play. Still a huge feat for me, I think. 8 pages with that many words, that's impressive. So it's got themes of memory, grief, strength. It took me about 16 hours to write. I'm not kidding about that. It was a long time. I was really thinking about this one as I wrote it, and I was taking my time, and I was considering ideas before I kept writing. Sometimes I would take little breaks where I would think about a line that I had writ. I'm Shakespearean, I guess. So yeah, 16 hours. It took me a while, but it was worth it because this play is really nice. I really like it. And some of that 16 hours is kind of included in my prep and planning, where I was looking up things about cameras. I didn't really know much about cameras and photography. My partner has a nice camera that they use to do photography sometimes. So I was asking them questions. I was looking up things. I was trying to learn about specs. You know, I did some prep for this one, which was mostly cameras. Potential high. It's got so much great places to go. 40% comedy. I didn't think it was that comedic, but somebody who told me while they were reading it said it is pretty funny sometimes. 90% drama. It's definitely drama. Here's our friend approval. It comes from Jacob or Jake. Jake says, the spookiness is super and the visuals in particular are really evocative. That's a great thing to get, especially in a play that is meant to be put in a visual format. I like hearing that it works well visually, just in the writing. And it'll give a projection designer, it'll give a lighting designer something to take and put into something bigger and better. I'm not much of a lighting designer myself or a projection designer, so I think that this is a good groundwork for someone to then take it further. I said, yep, I agree with that. Costumes, because we're in an art gallery exhibit, I think we should mix it between art gallery snob and modern casual. I think some characters are not so snobby, and some characters should be real snobby, like Monique. My favorite line, just because like I said before, I like playing with structure and how characters might talk. Jace is kind of an that's not how to say it. Jace is sort of an anxious talker, and you can tell that Jace likes to consider what words they're about to use, and also switches sentence in the middle of a line. Like, we'll start saying one thing and then interrupt themselves with a different thing. And so my which you might be able to tell is based on someone's real life dialogue. Who could it be? I wonder. Let's think of any anxious speakers, pressured speakers we can see in the room. Let's look around. Let's look around and find somebody. Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? Here's the line. Especially because, this first one, yeah, comes from Jace. And my favorite character is probably Will. I think there's so much character to Will, even though we don't get a whole lot of Will in the show. And I gave it I gave it an overall rating of 10, because I was like, this shit bangs, you know? This one's good. So that's it. That's all of September. I'm really excited about October. I've got a few great stuff lined up. I'm happy to have gotten back on the challenge and not dropped it like I did last month, kind of real significantly dropped it last month. So I'm happy to have come out with a month of certified bangers and a lot of good work. Just a lot of great work. I don't really have much to say about that right now, but next month there's some exciting things ahead. I might give you a sneak peek of some things if I am able to, if I am allowed to. I really don't know if I can. But I've got some projects on the go that I really am excited about, and I'm excited to keep this going in the background while I do those. Thank you for watching this video. If you did, this channel's just starting out and we could definitely use engagement if you want to. Please don't feel any pressure to do that, but I'm really happy about where this channel's going. I like doing this. I like making these videos. I think it's good practice and it'll help me in my career in film and theater. I keep trying to think of other videos to do in off time, and then I sort of run out of off time, and then I never do it. But I might. At one of these days, I might. You never know. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you had a good time. I certainly did. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.